How does a man go from hauling garbage in a beat-up truck to becoming one of the richest self-made billionaires in American history? Because that's exactly what Wayne Huizenga did. We've studied him for years. Today we break down how he pulled it off, step by step. Wild part, he used a framework, one that you can apply too, to go from where you are right now to where you actually want to be. Rich, free, and turning the smell of garbage into millions. February 14th, 1962. It's a humid night in South Florida. While most of the city sleeps, 25-year-old Wayne Huizenga fires up the engine of a battered garbage truck. The air is thick with the sweet and sour smell of trash and diesel gasoline. Wayne grips the steering wheel, his knuckles covered in filth. But this is no ordinary night for him. It's the very first route of his own garbage business. He doesn't know it yet, but this lone truck rolling in the darkness is the monumental start of his empire built on trash. But Wayne's story isn't just about trash. It's a masterclass in leverage you can apply to your life. The kind of leverage that takes you from pushing a garbage can to owning 3 pro sports teams. The leverage ladder. Level 1, sweat leverage. Wayne is no stranger to working hard. He grew up in Chicago, raised by a strict blue-collar father who ran a small construction company. The world of physical labor was in his blood. From a young age, his father drilled the truth into him. You'll never make real money working for somebody else. But Wayne didn't actually listen at first. He wasn't very good at college. He dropped out, he joined the army, and he came back ready to build something of his own, but he wasn't very successful at all. In fact, he failed and struggled again and again. Then in 1962, he convinces a local hauler to sell him 1 used truck and 20 commercial accounts with $500. That was it. His days began at 3 a.m. hauling trash. By noon, he'd scrub the grime off, change into a suit, and hit the streets. Morning, garbage man. Afternoon, salesman. Door to door, 1 shopkeeper at a time. That's sweat leverage. He was trading his energy and time for income. You see, he was at level 1 of the leverage ladder, but it didn't stay that way. And what happened next is where we all want to go. Level 2, skill leverage. Wayne wasn't just hustling, he was absorbing, watching, experimenting. He studied his customers, what made them switch providers, what pissed him off, how to keep him happy. Rich people wanted to pay more for premium service. So he made a mental playbook. Show up early, never miss a day, under-promise, over-deliver, always smile, have expensive options. Every satisfied business owner meant 5 more introductions. He learned what types of businesses were easiest to convert, what objections were smoke versus fire, where his competition got lazy. He was willing to push. Within 6 years, his company, Southern Sanitation Service, grew from a guy in a truck to 20 trucks, covering 2 counties. Wayne wasn't scaling himself anymore. He was scaling knowledge, sales, ops, service, leadership. Because once you master skill leverage, you unlock the rungs above it. Level 3, systems leverage. Build once, sell continuously. You build repeatable processes that earn even when you're sleeping. In 1968, Wayne's cousin-in-law, Dean, flew down from Chicago with a bold proposition. Let's merge. Let's build the first national garbage company. That meant Wayne gave up control. It meant he had to handle unions, boss guys, mafia, regulations, cutthroat competition. It was risky. But Wayne saw it for what it was, a chance to scale beyond the borders of his county and into a nationwide empire. He wasn't just hauling garbage, he was designing a system. So they renamed it Waste Management, Inc. And from day one, their only plan for growth was buy more things with other people's money. Wayne merged with Dean Buntrock's Chicago operations, but he didn't just merge the routes. He merged landfill assets because Dean owned a bunch of them. And by bringing that into the fold, Wayne and Dean created a network advantage. Local haulers now had to pay them to dump there. Their competitors paid them. They went across the US and tried to find small, beat-up family businesses and buy them using seller financing. A company in Ohio figured out a more efficient routing system. Oh, they just stole that homework and applied it to their entire business. Their hauler in Texas had a better maintenance cycle. Perfect, they rolled it out across the company. By 1972, just 4 years after the merger, they had acquired 90 companies. That is 1 company every 3 days. From a guy that had no money, and never raised a ton of capital to do this. Wayne also invested in technology before it was cool. Everybody thought he was nuts. Why are you bringing all these computers? You're a garbage man. But he brought in reduced billing errors. He brought in software to manage accounts. He actually didn't think about himself as a garbage man at all. He said that garbage collection was just a company that scaled. So how do I do something that becomes a replication engine? Because once you build a system that works without you, the next step is finding who else can run it. Level 4, capital leverage. You start using other people's money to grow faster. This is where Wayne flips the game board. Up until now, he's been buying companies in the old-fashioned way, using profits and whatever financing he could scrape together. But that approach has limits. You run out of cash, you grow slow, you start playing defense. Wayne wasn't interested in building a good business. He was playing to win. Nationally. So he turned to capital leverage, the art of using other people's money to go faster, bigger, and further than your bank account allows. Here's how it started. Instead of paying cash for every acquisition, Wayne started offering stock. A simple shift, but a powerful one. In fact, after Waste Management went public, Wayne used shares, not cash, to buy 133 small haulers in just 10 months across the Sun Belt, integrating their routes and their disposal assets to make him impossible to compete with. Every time a competitor got too good, he bought them. Because stock doesn't drain your cash reserves. It lets you buy businesses without debt. It's literally just a piece of paper. But it creates shared upside so everyone is rowing in the same direction. And the sellers loved it. Why take a lump sum when you could own a piece of a rocket ship? So this was emotional leverage. Wayne wasn't asking people to sell, he was inviting them to level up. Then came the 1971 IPO. Wayne stands on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange wearing a suit, watching the first shares of Waste Management trade hands. The company raised $3 million, around $31 million today, but more importantly, that was the first millions that they'd raised. And it gave them access to institutional capital, credit lines, underwriters, and a public currency that could buy entire companies. Now, they went on a buying spree. They didn't just grow in size, they grew in valuation. They were using capital to acquire revenue, which made the stock more valuable, which let them acquire even more companies. That's compound leverage in motion. And this playbook didn't stop with trash. Wayne would go on to use the same capital strategy to build Blockbuster Video, AutoNation, and other multi-billion-dollar companies. He understood that money isn't the finish line, it's a force multiplier. And once you can move capital at scale, the next step is finding the people who can carry the vision even further. He said, some people dream of success, while other people get up every morning and make it happen. Level 5, people leverage. Wayne Huizenga knew something most entrepreneurs learn too late. You can't scale an empire alone. He was never afraid to hire people smarter than him, more experienced than him, more specialized. In fact, he sought them out. When Waste Management acquired a new company, Wayne didn't wipe the slate clean. He usually kept the original owner on board. Why? Because these folks knew their markets better than anyone. They had relationships, network, knowledge, and a pride in owning the thing. But most importantly, they were shareholders. Wayne wasn't turning them into employees. He was turning them into partners. This was people leverage in action. Retain proven operators, align incentives with equity, free up your own time to focus on strategy. Wayne created regional leadership layers. He didn't have to micromanage. And that systems decision-making then meant that those people could run the systems. And look, that type of trust doesn't come easy. Wayne later admitted in an interview that when Waste Management started scaling, he didn't actually know how to manage these people. He's like, I had to learn how to deal with people over the telephone many miles apart. But after doing it a bunch, you finally figure out how to hire the right people and make things happen. That's what people leverage actually looks like. It's not some magical just hire great people shortcut. It's awkward phone calls, missed targets. It's learning to let go when you want to do it yourself. But once he learned high-level operators exist, that's when the whole game changed. Blockbuster, the second empire. In 1987, Wayne was semi-retired and bored. So naturally, he bought a video rental chain with 19 locations for pennies on the dollar. He applied the exact same people-first model he used in garbage. He looked for operators who could run stores, manage regions, and scale systems. In less than 3 years, Blockbuster went from 19 stores to over 1,600. He understood something most tech founders don't. Video rentals were hyper-local, operational complex, and replicable, if by the right people. So in '94, he sold Blockbuster to Viacom for $8.4 billion. But he wasn't done. AutoNation, the third empire. Everyone said car sales couldn't be scaled. It's too fragmented, they said, too old school. Wayne looked exactly for that. He bought a few dealerships, then a few more. Then he put in systems, then he put in people, then he put in incentivized performance with ownership. Before long, AutoNation became the largest car retailer in the United States with over $20 billion in annual revenue. He said, we're looking for something where we can make something happen. An industry where the competition is asleep, hasn't taken advantage. Not because Wayne would micromanage everyone, but because he knew people plus structure wins. He didn't build companies, he built leadership pipelines. And that's why people leverage is the turning point on the leverage ladder, because it allows you to scale just about anything. This is what separates the builders from the owners, and the owners from the legends. Level 6, attention leverage. The world now watches what you do. Wayne Huizenga was never chasing fame. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy. He didn't slap his name on skyscrapers. In fact, he wore an old school watch. He hated buying new clothes. His jeans were always ripped, and he had one favorite pair of boots. But by the late 90s, attention found him anyway. Why? Because attention is a natural byproduct of impact. At this point, Wayne had built $3 billion companies. He had taken multiple businesses public. He also owned 3 major sports teams: the Miami Dolphins, Florida Marlins, Florida Panthers. He even danced to the hokey pokey in view of the crowd at a Dolphins game. Ludicrous, yes, but it made a billionaire relatable. He wasn't just a shadow man in a suit behind the scenes. The crowd cheered, reporters snapped photos, the moment made headlines. It showed Wayne that he was part of the story and he didn't take himself too seriously. And after that, well, the journalists came. They wanted interviews, forecasts, attention. He wanted to reverse engineer him, but they wanted to make him matter. And all of a sudden, his moves did matter. And that's the hidden power of attention leverage. You don't actually have to shout to be seen. You just have to do something remarkable enough, long enough, that people start listening. What's interesting to me here is Wayne never invented anything. He didn't have a startup ever. He bought businesses that were old and then made them viral and interesting and huge with really 4 things: acquiring, systematizing, compounding, hiring, over and over and over again. So what's the real takeaway? Wayne Huizenga didn't win because he was the smartest or the most innovative. In fact, he wasn't either of those things. He didn't have a fancy degree. He didn't know how to code. He didn't raise venture capital. He didn't come from millions. He didn't go to the best schools out there. He just climbed the leverage ladder. Sweat to skill, skill to systems, systems to capital, capital to people, people to attention. That's the same framework I use now, decades later when I buy businesses. You want generational wealth? Don't climb the corporate ladder, climb the leverage ladder. The final ride, 1984, Wayne stepped down as CEO of Waste Management. To celebrate his last day, he put on his old coveralls, hopped into a beat-up garbage truck, and drove one last truck route. Even after becoming worth hundreds of millions of dollars, he wanted to remember where it all began, as a garbage man. That's fucking cool. If this inspired you, even just a little, maybe it's time for you to make your move. If you're not already subscribed, do it. Share this with a friend. I'll show you how to buy boring businesses, build leverage, and maybe one day have your own damn garbage truck empire or something cleaner.
calmness and no phone and no society and no parents telling you what to do and no boss or no one. You're just on a mountain. You're worried about yourself and that other person. You're not worried about likes or views on Instagram. You're not worried about how much money's in your account. You're not worried about, that next big business venture and, if it's delayed or not. You're just worried about staying freaking alive. And it comes back to the simplicity of life. And so that's what I gain on these mountains, is just like simplicity.
Here's a question for you. How much of your life do you actually control? And you got to be honest with yourself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That was Marcus Aurelius. And it's as true now as it was 2,000 years ago. So are you in control of your life, or is it controlling you? Wealth doesn't come from sitting out and sticking to the safety net of your comfort zone. It's built by acquiring equity or owning something, your time, your choices, your assets. The richest people in the world, they know this. The wealthiest demographic of the US right now, ages 55 to 59, understand this concept, and they own the most businesses. That's why this February, I'm hosting a 3-day virtual event that's unlike anything we've ever done before. It's your crash course in taking ownership from finding the right businesses and spotting opportunities to negotiating deals and securing financing. We're not just talking theory, we're giving you actionable real-world coaching to help you build lasting wealth. This isn't just an event. It's a movement, what we call Owner Nation. If this is interesting to you and you want to acquire businesses, acquire more businesses, or grow your wealth, then I think you should be here. You should go to codiesanchez.com/MSM. There'll be all the information for you. Did you start doing these crazy adventures before you had some money and freedom?
Yes. Yeah, I would say the first big one was the bear crawl. I wanted to see,
So you didn't have any cash. What were you doing for a living at the time?
I had a training business.
So you were in fitness?
Yep, fitness.
And you were probably not making what you wanted to make? Or just
I was
normal?
happy. I mean, I was living I was making
How
what
old
I
were
needed.
you?
20, it was in 2020, so 5 years ago.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm 32, so 27.
God, you've lived a lot in that.
In the last 5 years,
In the last 5 years.
done a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And before that, you were just quote unquote kind of normal. You hadn't done these crazy adventures.
No, I was running nightclubs in New York City.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a wild progression.
Yeah.
So
And
what?
before that, I was hanging drywall. I was doing construction.
Interesting.
Yep.
So how did you go from hanging construction to having a bunch of businesses, climbing Everest, bear crawling marathons?
Curiosity. I'm just really curious and try to just do my absolute best in every single thing I do, whether I'm pouring you some D-bloat, whether I'm making you a coffee, whether I'm on this podcast or, going to work out in the gym this morning. Like, I want to do my best every possibility I get. Mm-hmm. And so any opportunities I've had, I think I just give it 110% no matter what. But, I grew up in a blue collar household, and my dad hung drywall. And then when he passed, I got sent to military academy, got a scholarship to play football and baseball in college, and then dropped out. And I was like, this isn't for me. I started bartending, bar backing, trying to make some money in the hospitality world, and just gave it. I was the best freaking bar back in the world. I was a bartender's best friend. I will make your job as easy as possible. And I told myself, I'm like, look, bar back is, dishwashing and bar back is one of the lowest positions in hospitality, but I'm going to be the best freaking one out there, And then the restaurant owner saw that. He's like, do you want to bartend? I'm like, yes. And then all of a sudden they're like, do you want to manage the place? And I was like, yes. And then all of a sudden I had an opportunity to open my own spot. And so it's literally just giving it 110%, every time.
What would you tell a young Devin today listening to this who's like, man, I don't want to live a boring life. I want to adventure. I want to do incredible things, but I don't really have much. Maybe I'm doing drywall right now too.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I would say break up with the girl or guy that you're with and go travel around the world and get into hospitality and work at different restaurants around the world, learn different languages, and just be a good, kind human. Be kind, work hard, and just learn and be a sponge. Don't be a know-it-all. Just take it. And in that time, figure out where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years, and then work backwards. Is it a ranch in the middle of Colorado with cows and a wife and kids and, your pickup truck and whatever it is? If that's what it is and that cost X amount of dollars, work backwards. How can you get there, right?
When did you make your first amount of cash?
How did I make my first amount of cash? I mean, I was training people in New York, and so I saved up some good money there, and then I built a training business and sold that, and that's kind of how I made my first million, and then I kind of
Doing
just
kind
started
of a normal business.
very normal, but I had clients,
Yeah.
and I had cash flow with that, and then we had this product, a meal prep, and someone recognized that and they needed those clients. So if you have something that someone needs, you can sell that.
Yeah.
Anything. If you want to drink some water and I have the glass, this is for sale.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think you have a glass.
I have a glass too.
So I don't know. I just think it's creating things you like to do, because I think the passion and what you love is going to take you through the hard days, right? I used to love training people and making, people struggle and sweat and sometimes throw up and get back at it, puke and rally. Like I used to really enjoy and working out with them. I used to enjoy it. I still do sometimes I'll just train my boys for fun and have some fun, but I genuinely enjoyed it. So the days where a client said, "Hey, meet me at 4 a.m." I'm like, frick yeah, like let's go. I'll show up. Let's get it done. Let's get after it. If you don't have that passion, then it's just not
Hard to
it's
compete.
not worth it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. You're not going to compete against me if I like to wake up at 4 a.m. and work out, and you don't, but you want to start a training business. Like we're not. Eventually, I'm going to, surpass you. So
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to beat obsession, I think.
it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I can beat intelligence,
Right.
but it's super hard to beat somebody who's more obsessed than I am.
I agree with that.
One of the things I liked too last we were chatting is I was saying to you something like, oh, I'm going to do this work thing related. And you were like, yeah, I'm going to Aspen. I'm going skiing tomorrow or something, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you seem to go skiing or things like that a lot.
Yeah.
Why can you do that so often? How do you integrate so much adventure into your life?
Yeah.
Now people might say, well, you're successful. He has money. He can do that. But there's plenty of people who have more money than you or I that do not do that.
Yeah.
But it seems like you are set on not living a boring life.
Yeah, I put it first on the calendar. That's if I'm making my calendar throughout the day, I'm going to go mountain biking, I'm going to sauna cold plunge, I'm going to work out, and if I have time, I'll work in between. And it's very simple. And some people are like, you're crazy for doing that. I'm like, you're fucking crazy for not doing that. That is crazy to me that you're not doing the things that you like and you're not having fun. It blows my mind actually when people put work first and money first and like the things they think matter first. And then they're all like, man, I wish I went there. Man, I wish I was mountain biking more. Or I wish I went and traveled. So go do it. Put that first and everything else will follow. Okay, maybe your exit is, or your acquisition, you selling the company is delayed a couple of years. But you had fun. At least you had fun, and you put the fun first and the things you love first. People do it backwards.
You're right. We do. Actually, my husband always says there's 100% ROI on fun,
Yeah.
which I think is not how my brain works.
Yeah.
But don't you ever worry about, like, what do you say to somebody who's like, but what if I do that and then I can't make enough money or I can't live?
You can make. I can make money selling freaking flowers, training people, going to get a job as a barista. There's a million ways in this world to make money. I could go pick up dirt, put it in a glass jar, holy sand on it and sell the sand. Like it's not that hard to make money. It's very simple to make money in this world, especially in the United States of America. It's the biggest brand on planet Earth, the USA, right? It's not hard, especially if you're in the US. If you're not in the US, I see people make money in Tanzania, Africa, selling random cow hides on the side of the road. Like there's random things that people just do in this world to make money. It's not complicated. It's just do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
And people are afraid, well, that's too much. That's too small amount to make. That's not enough. Well, that's on you then. You know what I mean?
You got to start somewhere.
When I rode my bike across America with a guest you had, Jesse Itzler, it was interesting how many people lived in tents and how many people lived a simple life. And they chose to live the simple life. They chose not to have the bills. They chose not to have, the cars and the watches and the rent in New York City. They chose to live a simple life. We're the ones that put the stress on ourselves with the more stuff that we want or the more things that we want to do, right? We put the stress on ourselves. If you want to live a simple life, you can get a tent, It's $100 on Amazon, if that, and go find somewhere on this earth, because the earth is big. Go live in a tent. You have a fire, you have shelter, you get food. That's it. It's very simple. And we add the stress.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I'd give you shit about that as a thought, except you've actually done it in a bunch of countries and in the U.S. So it's sort of interesting because you spent time in Africa. We were just talking about your drink that you gave me, and you've done this. You've sort of like camped all over the place, and
I've stayed in hostels. I've lived in tents. I've lived in mansions. I've lived in a lot of different types of places, and what I've come down to is simple, like simplicity. I try to clear my closet a couple times a year. I try to give away stuff. I try to have minimal amount of equipment in the kitchen. I try to have, just simple things. Try to wear the same shoes every day. Try to, similar shirts, similar pants, I mean, a couple of people are watching, they know what I wear. I wear like the same 5 things pretty much, and I try to. I try to live as simple as possible. And sometimes I get out of it a little bit. I have some fun, but I think it comes back to simplicity.
You partnered with Jesse on a couple of big things.
Yeah.
He, I imagine, gets a lot of people asking him to partner on stuff. How do you get somebody who is big and famous and maybe a billionaire to partner with you and to decide that you're the guy?
Well, one, we're friends first. We like to sauna. We like to cold plunge.
How'd you meet him first?
I met him. When I bear crawled the New York Marathon, he reached out, congratulated me. So that was like our first intro.
You did an interesting thing, and then an interesting human found you.
That's it. And then I went to his event, 29029. We hung out, had a crazy 36 hours. And then we kind of stayed in touch. And he's like, hey, want to come to my house to sauna cold plunge? Yes. I have one rule. If Jesse asks you to do something, you do it. And so I went down. And then he's like, yo, that was fun. You want to go to the Hawks game? Cool. Done. Hey, you want to do this? Yeah. And I just kept saying yes. But each time I wasn't looking for anything. I was never like, Jesse's going to be my business partner. I never even thought about business with him. I was just like, this is a fun guy to hang out with. We have similar values: family, health, community, freedom of time, giving back. Those are my 5 main values I live by. And that's kind of what he lives by too. So we align on values. And we just, I don't know, there's no egos. We just like to have a good time, host people, sauna cold plunge. And I think we enjoy each other's company. And when he came to me about all day running, to be honest, I didn't even look at the paperwork. I know how much equity I own in the business, but like, besides that, I was like, I trust this guy, I saw it, DocuSign came in, I signed it. I'm like, let's launch this thing. It wasn't there's some people in the world that you just trust, It's like it's a good old handshake deal. And that's kind of how him and I roll. And there's no hidden agenda with us.
It's interesting because that was one of Warren Buffett's famous lines was, one, you can't do a good deal with a bad guy, and that a contract won't save you. And so I think there's actually a lot of wisdom in that. Now, I am a crazy person and get very particular with contracts, but I think when you're young and you don't got much to lose, you can really shoot yourself in the foot by putting all of these what ifs in there. There's not even a what to start with.
And like all day running, we all started at zero. We started at 0 sales. We started at 0 followers. We started at no one coming to Running Man. We all started at 0. And then him and I had the agreement of, okay, let's build this to something. Him and I started at 0 with all day. Now, then we're building this together with the team and everyone. So I think everyone has to understand, everyone starts at 0. It's not like, it's just handed to you overnight. Everyone starts at 0 followers. Everyone starts at 0 views on the podcast. Then you're like, dang, I got my first 10 views, 20. I got my first 1 million views. This is crazy, right?
That's right.
We all start at 0. And so the what ifs are so unnecessary just in life. What if it doesn't? We're naturally thinking that, but we're all starting at 0. So just go. Just say yes.
Yeah. But now you have All Day Running Company, which is that what owns like Running Man and the biggest sauna and all those things you have? What does that all encompass?
Yeah. All Day Running, we started with like 20 different concepts. We started with a calendar. We started with, daily workouts. We started with gear. We started with a monthly call. We start with run clubs, and we do that on purpose. Throw it at the wall, see what sticks. That didn't kind of work. That worked. That didn't work. This didn't work. Cool. Yes. No. Running Man was a festival. It came down to schedule. Jesse and I have limited time, so this allows us to do it once a year. It's a blank canvas for us. We can do whatever we want there. It's fun. It's what we like to do. And so, yeah, we launched Running Man 3 years ago. We're going on, this is our third one this year.
We'll have explain what it is really quickly.
Running Man is a running festival in the health and wellness community where there's no first place, second place, or third place. You have 3 days. We put the timer on, and you can run as much as you want. Whoa. Some people sign up for 5K and end up doing 50 miles. And you can walk, run, crawl, do whatever you want. In between, you can stop. You have a tracker on. You could stop, go hit a sauna, grab a beer, listen to Mike Posner play, hit a goat yoga session. You can do whatever you want. It's just a fun, it's Burning Man without the drugs. And more running. That's all it is. It's a cool idea. It's a 3-day festival in Georgia, and we just host it. We go down and literally just party for 3 days.
Yeah, you guys invited me, and I was like, I hate running. I'm so nervous. This sounds awful. I have a conflict, but I'm going to come next year. I told Jesse.
Last year I did 4 laps, and then I had 30 beers. That was my running. That's what I did.
That's amazing.
That's what I did at Running Man last year.
It's kind of nice because with the new year and everything, you're thinking about goals, and it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And sometimes I can get really prescriptive, but half the time it's just directional.
Right.
Like go someplace where more people are running, where you could be running more often, and you'll probably do some more, and then don't get that serious about the time or the specifics.
Yeah, don't get serious. Life's too short to be too serious.
Is that a motto of yours?
Yeah, look, there's some things where I'm like, what the frick? But a lot of times I'm like, Chinese farmer, right? It's you just got to kind of go with the flow.
What do you mean by that?
So my girlfriend showed me this clip, Chinese farmer. If you're listening, you should go watch it. It's 2 minutes maybe. And it's basically about this Chinese farmer that, he goes through all these obstacles in life, and each obstacle actually ended up being what it was supposed to be. It wasn't right and it wasn't wrong. It's just what it was supposed to be. And that's kind of the gist of it. Life is just what it's supposed to be. If we mess up on the podcast, that's just what it's supposed to be. If I say something out of line, if I say something good, that's just what it's supposed to be. And so it's not overthinking good or bad. It's just going and just kind of going with the flow.
What do you do when you make mistakes? Like, how do you get over a mistake? Is it that?
I just don't make them again. Yeah. I know what I did wrong or I messed up on. I will never make that mistake again. And it's embedded in my brain. I make it a point, to the point where I'll tell people I made that mistake. Because with learning, if you read it, you speak it, you teach it, that's how you embed it. And so I like to tell people my problems, or not problems, my mistakes, I should say,
Interesting.
Because then it's embedded. I will never, bring on these 10 influencers at X amount of dollars and launch them at this and do blah, 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 blah. I'll do it this way next time. And now I know forever I'm not going to, make that mistake again.
Yeah, that's kind of important. I think often when I make a mistake, the way I repeat it is you try to hide it. You're like, whoops, that didn't really okay, we'll just kind of scan over that.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like the universe is kind of like, hey, man, remember this happened? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I embed it. I speak it, and I'm okay with that. Look, we're all human. I've made a lot, obviously a lot of mistakes. I think it's okay. It's good. That's how we learn. I look at mistakes as that's a school. That's the learning experience. I made an investment maybe like 4 years ago, and the investment it was a small amount. I think it was like 10 grand to make 250. It was a great return, right? And on the day where I was supposed to cash out the 250, I didn't know how to cash it out. And so it delayed, and the stock essentially started dropping so that 250 went to 50. And I was just like, holy shit, that was a $200,000 mistake I just made in one day, because I just simply didn't know how to cash it out. And I was really furious for a couple minutes, and then I was like, okay, I'll never make that mistake again. That was a very expensive, learning experience, but it was a learning experience nonetheless. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, you just
and
move
I will,
on.
Cody, I'll never make that freaking mistake again. I promise you.
What's the mistake? Investing in the stock market with quick returns,
Yeah,
or not knowing how to cash out? What's the
not
mistake?
knowing how to cash out. Yeah, I didn't have the right system set up and people set up to cash out. So
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, that's happened to me a lot. A
Okay.
lot of times when you invest in private companies before they go public, you have 90-day lockup periods, right?
Yeah.
And so, you might think you're doing really well on the private side, but then when they went public back in our cannabis days, we had a lot of companies where, man, they did great for those first 30 or 60 days. But I
Right.
was just sitting there like, God, I don't think they're going to make it to 90, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So I never really like investing in the stock market for that reason. Too
Yeah.
many other people can influence your outcome.
yeah, I have a little bit, but I don't really do stock market. I like
Yeah.
private stuff I can really control.
Yeah, one of the things that's wild that you have that I was looking up is you own a farm now.
Yes.
Tell me about the farm. What made you buy
one?
a farm? Oh, you have two now?
Yeah.
Well-
I have one in Austin,
Oh.
Cedar Trunk Ranch.
Okay, I don't know anything about that one. I know
Yeah.
about the honey farm.
Yeah, Sweet Honey Farm.
Uh-huh.
Sweet Honey Farm. Bought it as my home. It's a farm. It's it's a working farm, and I had an open door policy to my friends. Come by. I harvest my cows. I harvest the food in the garden. Here, come get it.
And like by harvest, you're there? Like you're
I have a team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up
So you
in
hired some
Idaho and New
people.
Hampshire on a farm, and so I know what needs to be done. But yeah, I have a team that runs it.
Is that really expensive?
It gets expensive. Yeah, very expensive if you don't have a revenue stream in.
Yeah.
And so I kind of noticed that. I was like, this is a black hole if I don't, sell the meat, or I don't sell the garden goods, or I don't put some type of cash flow onto the property. And so with farms, you can do CSA, community supported agriculture. And so I opened up a CSA farm. And so people pay an annual fee and they get access to my farms. And second one's going in Nashville, third one's going in Colorado.
Wow. So it's basically like a subscription to your farm.
Correct.
And I get an allocation of a certain amount of vegetables or
Yeah,
meat
or
something.
whatever you want. Yeah, I have the unlimited policy, but everyone's very respectful of they take what they need.
Interesting.
You don't have people coming in and grabbing 100 tomatoes, and it's not world
Because
end.
you screen them.
Well, yeah, and it's just like people are respectful. Yeah, I screen everybody. I do a sauna session with them.
Oh, interesting.
But most of them, I have a big network. They're a lot of my friends, and just people that come live local around New York City.
Interesting.
And so it's only 45 minutes from New York City, and we play pickleball, basketball, sauna, cold plunge, work out. There's a coffee shop on the property. Pro Mix. I have my Pro Mix juice bar, and my chef cooks stuff from the farm. But it's all my friends, and it's all free. You
That's
pay one. You
amazing.
pay one fee. There's no upsell. I think
You
there's
can
too
come
many.
whenever you want.
Yeah, come 9 to 5. We're open every day.
Interesting.
There's too many nightclubs. There's too many these clubs where they're pushing alcohol on you. They're pushing all these upsells of get a massage for $500, and use our hyperbaric chamber for another $500, and grab a dinner with your friends for $2,000, and you leave. You're like, oh my god, I spent $4,000 at this freaking place. I don't want that. It's $7,500 for the year, and you get everything. And it's I'm just putting I'm not serving alcohol. There's no drugs. It's just very come and feel good. And so it's attracted a lot of founders, a lot of people that I would say there's maybe 20 members there that have all sold their company for over 200 million. They cashed out and they just come for the day and hang out.
I love that because they get to be the gentleman farmers, which is
They
like a
do.
new thing
Yeah.
without all the
Ride
heartache
horses, yeah.
Yeah, you have giant horses there that I've seen.
Yeah, big boys.
Do you also have mini ponies?
I have one mini pony,
I'm
Buttons.
into that. I'm coming.
He's tiny.
Buttons.
The kids
is
can
his
ride
name?
him.
Oh, that's
The
amazing.
big Clydesdales.
Yeah.
They weigh 2,500 pounds. They're huge.
That's
and then
wild.
I have a couple Arabian horses, a couple Mustangs, the tiny horse, cows, Scottish Highland cows.
Oh yeah, the cute ones,
Yeah.
fuzzies.
300 chickens.
300
Yeah.
chickens?
Part 100 chickens are meat chickens, so I'll harvest those in
Got it.
6 weeks, and we just got them. And then
How do you decide if it's a meat or a ongoing
just two different
chicken?
types of chicken.
Okay, it's not personality
Yeah.
based. No,
Maybe.
there's no scorecard.
Kinda,
Like you
yeah.
get to stay.
Yeah, if
you
they're
get to go.
pain in the ass, they turn to meat.
Okay.
Meat
Tracks.
soup. No.
No PETA
and then the other
listeners.
chickens, they produce eggs. And then everything from the garden goes to the eggs, or goes to the chickens. They produce eggs, and we eat them. And
Wow, this
Yeah.
is a big enterprise.
it's a super fun project. I love it. It's kind of, some people sell their company and invest in restaurants. I this is kind of my restaurant. This is not a restaurant, but it's like, it's kind of my hobby, and it just attracts really good people.
And you're going to open up around the country.
Yes.
Wild.
There's 10,000 people on the wait list.
That's crazy from your videos.
Yeah.
You have a big Instagram where in as far as I can tell, you document this stuff. It's not that much content creation. It's like, today I'm doing a 47-hour long sauna with all my buddies, and then you document it.
That's it.
And then through that is how you get the 10,000 people on your wait list.
Yeah, I'm just raw, authentic, not, I don't want to use the word authentic because I think it's overused, but it's raw. I mean, I try to put out as much raw stuff as possible. I don't enjoy seeing things online and then meeting that person in real life, and they're too.
Dude, it's not.
I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's not my vibe.
Yeah, it always makes me sad. I'm like, I wish I didn't meet you because you seem super cool online. And I wish we could just stay there.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I just want to. My definition of success is being yourself 100% of the time. And so if I can be myself to you, or to the president, or to someone I just randomly met in the airport, or whatever, I think that's success.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you don't have to put on show.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time we don't have to put on show, right? We just do for whatever reason. Insecurity, we're young, we're idiots.
Yep.
I've done that many, many times.
Of course.
And then you realize, like, actually, everybody can tell.
Yeah.
Eek, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
And you'd probably be cooler if you just acted like who you were.
Way cooler.
Yeah. Plus, the internet's full of everything. I
Yeah.
mean, you have a bunch of people that want to follow you talking about horses and honey and working out. And there are people that are really into like anime and popcorn.
It's
Audience
insane.
for all.
There's 8 billion people, and everyone has different interests.
Yeah.
You know, and you're never going to please everybody, obviously.
That's very true.
You know? So it's like, just do what you want and what you like, and then what you put out in the world, that's what you attract back in. It's a law of energy. It's very simple.
Do you think that a lot of this sort of free thought and being who you are and living this big, huge life goes back to sort of your dad? And you've talked about some of this publicly before, but, you know, how he passed and your relationship with him.
Yeah. I think he was he did what he wanted. He was very stubborn. Yeah, he was a stubborn, like, curious, you know. He climbed Mount Rainier. He climbed some mountains. He was back when he was a kid, he was Boy of the Year for the Men and Boys Club of America. He got invited to the White House. Like, he did some cool things as a human, but he was definitely very stubborn in the sense of he just wanted to do what he wanted when he wanted, you know? And so I think that probably translated over. My mom's like that as well. All my sisters are very free spirit. They all, you know, one lives in Hawaii, one lives in, you know, Oregon and New Hampshire. Like, they're all over. Everyone's very independent and doesn't necessarily let society impact the decisions, or a degree, or, you know, what society calls success. It's kind of like, what do I was taught to, like, define success as my own. And so, I don't know, I think all my sisters and kind of how I grew up was always like that. And so, I don't know, that's just how I live.
Yeah. Do you think that kids these days need to go to school, that university helps? I
think it depends on, you know, how you learn. I think some kids are amazing in school, and that's they need to sit down and they need to be taught, you know, X, Y, Z on a board. And some are like, I need to be outside and be touch with my hands. You know, some are visual learners, some need to read it, some need to listen. I think once you understand how you learn, then freaking deep dive into that. I know me learning is sitting here with you, or traveling to different mountains, or climbing to top of the world, or, you know, putting my body through mayhem, you know, in the bear crawl, or riding across America, or going to Antarctica, or hosting an event with Diplo in Antarctica. Like, I don't know, just like doing different things.
Did you do that?
I did do that last year. That's my school, though. You know what I mean? That's my school, not... So back to, I think some school is great, but what's your school? So school is good, but define what your school is. Maybe it's Harvard.
How does one find that?
I don't know. I think you just do. You just go. You just try different things. Yeah.
So say you try a lot of stuff. I think a lot of people don't know if they like it or not. Like, what's your process for, like, I'm not going to do this again. Or I liked that. That was great. Do you sit and think about it? Is it just a feeling? Do you go with your gut reaction? How does a young person actually decide what is their school? I
don't know. If you get those butterflies inside when you're doing something, you're like, That was fun. You know, like think of a time back when you were a kid or a teenager or in college or any time in your life and you got those butterflies inside. Was it helping someone? Well, then maybe you should try some philanthropy things. Was it building something? Maybe you should look into architecture, building houses, you know, building a company. You know, was it reading? Maybe you're meant to be a freaking lawyer. Maybe you love reading. Maybe you're meant, you know what I mean? Like everyone's different, but you got to try. I've tried so many things. And so I know exactly how I learn and I just deep dive into that every day. You know?
What did you do with Diplo in Antarctica? Which is a weird question to ask.
Yeah. We hosted 150 people on a ship on the coast of Antarctica for 7 days. We jumped in the water. We, you know, had, you know, saunas and we did yoga and he performed and it was just a fun 7-day trip in Antarctica with 150 random people.
Why? So you just do kind of like these, it's almost like mini businesses.
Yeah.
Like there's just like this is a cool idea. Let's try it once and see if it works.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Have you always done that?
Yeah. I mean, I was in survival mode since I was 16, since my dad passed away. I got to pay my bills. I don't have anyone paying my cell phone bill. So I got to pay the $60 a month. How do I do that? Okay, well, what if, you know, I was in military academy at the time and no one would, you know, pay for my cell phone and, you know, every other parents were paying. I didn't have that luxury. So I was like, how do I pay for this $60 a month? I'm not making any money, but I have $10. And so I remember I snuck out of, I don't think I've ever even told this story before, but I was in study hall in our rooms in the barracks at Valley Forge Military Academy, and I had like $10 on me, and I needed to pay my $60 bill, and so I snuck out the window, and I go to McDonald's, and meanwhile, Valley Forge is $60,000 a year. I was on a scholarship, so there's a bunch of rich kids there, and I went to McDonald's, and I bought 10 McDoubles, and I came back, and I sold them all for $10 a piece, and the kids bought them, and so I was like $100, 60, I just made 40, so now I have 40, and I would do that at study hall. You know, and so I think I was always in survival mode since then, and now I just get, you know, get scrappy and get creative with it. But what I have noticed with people that do get scrappy is that you can go two directions. One direction, you can always be scrappy and sell stuff, but it's snake oil.
Yeah.
And it's quick in and out. The other is you protect your reputation no matter what. And I kind of went that route. I don't just sell stuff. I don't just create stuff just to make money. You know, I want to actually help people and create products. Hence why we started ProMix, right? I was like, man, I grew up in a health and wellness, you know, household. I met Albert, my partner, and, you know, there was nothing affordable with like really, really clean ingredients, you know, like raw, where we traced it back to the farms that we got them from, and we packaged them up ourselves in glass containers, so there's no microplastics or anything. Like, how do we do this? And so we were fixing something for us, and then we were like, I think other people are going to like this as well. You know, some good grass-fed whey protein, some debloat for your gut, some things that we want to use, you know, in our daily habits. And that's kind of how it came about. But it's an honest business. You know, it's not like, oh, freaking tallow is hot right now, let's do tallow, or cryo chambers are hot right now, let's do a cryo business. It's not. I don't like going down that route. I want, you know, you know, a good analogy is nightclubs versus restaurants. Nightclubs are in and out. They're quick, 2-3 years. They're hot in the city. People go to them, and then, you know, 3 years later they rebrand, new nightclub. I like the restaurant that's open for 25, 30, 50 years. I want that family-owned restaurant. And so I try to go down that route with businesses and have some longevity to it versus it's a sustainability versus these quick wins. Yeah. The quick wins are normally I don't make money on them. They're good marketing plays. They're fun. They're just fun. You know what I mean? Like
and they attract a bunch of interesting people.
Did we make money on the Diplo Antarctica trip? No, zero. You know what I mean? First couple of years of Running Man, we made no money. Like, these are just fun things we want to do. And I don't know, we just try to bring people together.
Tell me about the trip to Africa where you found this weird nut that you're turning into
seed. Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what the difference is between a nut and a seed.
That's all right.
To you?
A seed grows and a nut
is
you
the
eat.
End growth? Is that the end product?
Fact check.
Fuck. Whatever. YouTube will tell us.
I actually kind of want to know that. Nut versus seed. A nut you can
eat, but you could eat a seed too.
Can you?
I mean,
Oh yeah, you can eat
sunflower
both.
seed.
What's the difference between a nut and a seed?
What do you think, Christian?
Google is saying a nut is technically a type of seed.
Wow.
The outer shell is considered part of the fruit, while a seed is the reproductive part of a plant that contains the potential for a new plant to grow.
Doesn't it
Got it.
sound better when he says it too? He's
Yeah.
like a plant.
Yeah, can we put that on here?
Yeah,
I want
of
to put that on there.
course. Yeah,
Wow.
100%.
Well,
We will edit in Christian's beautiful British voice
Good.
telling us what
Good.
another seed is.
Um,
So you're in Africa. Where are you?
I'm in Africa, in Tanzania. I was
Okay.
climbing Kilimanjaro, which
That's
I
cool.
recommend. It's a very easy climb,
Yep.
hike per se. There's 14ers in Colorado are much harder, right? It's just fun. So I'm out there. It maybe takes us 6 days. I'm with some buddies. Get invited to the village that we just went up with our guides with.
Is this like a Masai Mara?
It's a Maasai community. It's a couple hours outside Tanzania, and so I'm just eating some goat and some other stuff that they give us, and these kids were coming up to me with this seed, and the seed is huge. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it's called the baobab seed. And the baobab seed has an insane amount of vitamin C and an insane amount of potassium. And so I was like, there's got to be something I can do with this. This is a really cool concept.
So it's like the size of a football?
It's huge, yeah. And so we had Promix at the time. And when I hear, 4 times the amount of potassium, 4 times the amount of vitamin C, I'm like, I want to take this every day. And so I bring it back to my partner and I'm like, what can we do with this? And I've always been big in gut health because gut is, your second brain. It's where your mood, your energy, 70% of major diseases are formed from your gut. And so if you can get your gut on point, you're good, you're that much more de-risked from death or diseases. And the 2 things in your gut that you really need to be focused on is pre and probiotics, pre and probiotics. So they are 2 bacterias that work with each other to essentially fix your gut liner, to help break down food, right? So it can then the nutrients can go in your bloodstream. And most people don't take prebiotics, they'll take probiotics and they think they're taking them with yogurt. But once you have artificial flavors in yogurt, right? Or it takes out the probiotics. So like a lot of people aren't even taking probiotics when they think they are. So these are pre and probiotics. There's natural prebiotics in the baobab as well. Put turmeric in it for inflammation. And then organic oranges for flavor from Florida. And it's called D-bloat, and it helps flush your pipes in the morning, and it helps clear your gut, and it helps fix the gut liner. And it's quickly became our top product. And I mean, you got to see the testimonials here. I mean, people had acne for years, and they started, taking it for a month, and boom, their face is clear. They were constipated on the regular, not anymore, right? People's mood changes when your gut is better, when your gut is healthier, when you don't have a leaky gut, when you have good nutrients, right? I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's really about what you're putting in your body.
accomplish this, you should get a raise, you should get a promotion, the company moves forward. What are they? So I had all the departments, hundreds of employees, narrow it down to the most important things. And then I said, and I draw it as a pyramid. So picture the top is goal, right? The next one down is, okay, so what are the constraints holding you back from achieving that? Like, what is it? Well, I'm like, no, if we had to know. Well, I don't have some. Okay, great. The constraint is you need a right person in that place. Could it be a system you're missing, or do you actually need a person? A lot of times it's like, oh, if I had a better system, I wouldn't need the person. So what is the constraints? How do you solve them, or how do you widen the circle to let me and others help you solve it? And then the third thing, there's only 4 steps. The third step is, how are you going to measure your progress? Right? How do you know you're actually moving forward, winning the game? And then the fourth answers the question you asked. The fourth is the deadlines. When are you going to have it done by? Well, I think by January. January what? Mid-January. January what? January 9th. Done. I'm here to help you get that done. So we went from 15 tasks. Picture if each thing has 3 constraints. You have 10 goals. Each thing has 3 constraints. You have 30 constraints.
No.
That's why people, and you know what ends up happening? Is you go, oh, that one's got a lot. I'll just go with this other thing because I have so many things going on. I'll work on the easier one. You don't even know your brain does that. But when you narrow it down and go, crap, we have to, we want to do back-end sales so people can enjoy this amazing coaching program we put together, right? Okay, what is the goal? The goal is to do $1 million a month, helping people be a part of a program that actually transforms their life. Great. What are the constraints? We don't have the salespeople to do it. Great. Then your whole focus over the next 90 days should be getting the salespeople. What are the constraints? I don't know if I can find them. Do we do them in person? Do we do them in virtual? Great. That's the things we have to solve. How do you know if you're winning? I need to hire 2 a week. Great. What's the deadline? 3 months from now. Great. All of a sudden, that person has those 4 things, and that's all they should focus on.
That's so good. I have like a to-do list in my mind right now of all the things I have to do listening to you, which is what happens every time we talk, by the way. Let's talk about, let's imagine that there's somebody out there right now, and they're listening and they haven't made their first $1 million. They maybe even haven't made their first $100,000. I know it's so hard to overly simplify this, but what was the biggest unlock for you to make your first $1 million? Because you have made, you know, I'm not the IRS, but you've made millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. But that very first million, I think, is the hardest. So what would you say to somebody who hasn't made their first million yet? What do you have to unlock?
Oh, wow. So many. It's such a great question. There's so many things that I think about. But if you really boil it down, and I want to give business tactics. Let me do that on the second half. But the first one, have you, with all the people, you get amazing people to sit in this chair. You've met such incredible people. You just surround yourself with great people. If you look at the common denominator of successful people, is they have just a little bit more hunger than anybody else, right? I mean, you think about it. Why do most people who hit lotto go broke? Because they have resources, but they don't have resourcefulness. So if I think about it, like I'm going to give you a tactical answer. I can tell you about marketing. I tell you all about those things. And that's I want to talk about all that today. But foundationally, maybe because I've been in this industry so long and I've built multiple companies, is if you don't have a hunger that's super strong, when you hit obstacles, when things go wrong, you go, oh, I can't believe that happened. All right, let me give it one more try. Compared to, there is no more one try. I will persist until I succeed. I will crawl across glass. I will break through steel. I will climb a mountain, whatever it takes. It's not, I guess I'll give it 1 or 2 more tries. It's you just try until you find the answer. And the most successful people you know, even in your own life, as you're listening or watching right now, you know that they didn't set like 3 failures and then I go back to the job I hate. It's like you burn the boats. There's no B plan. And that is something that's why Tony and I work so hard on helping people have an unstoppable mindset. And then we give them a business plan. Yeah. Because you can give the greatest business plan to somebody who's not committed, or you can give a crappy business plan on a yellow pad to someone who's committed and hungry. And I'll take them 100% of the time. So the first thing is hunger. And that hunger leads to resourcefulness. And that resourcefulness leads to persisting till you succeed. That's number 1. Number 2 is, I wish someone would have told me this earlier in life, and I know you have found it way earlier than I did. But you have to model proven practices. Like that is just, I mean, I know it sounds simple and you're like, maybe I'm just a reminder service for everybody listening or watching today, but somebody has already done what you're hoping to do. Stop trying to figure out how and start thinking who. Who has already made $1 million in this space and I haven't? Who has already bought multiple companies? Who has already doubled the size of their marketing or doubled the size of their business? Who has broken through from one shop to 50 of them across the country? Who has already done it? And then do everything in your power to understand what they've done. If they offer coaching, get it. If you can be a mentor for free, get it. If you can build reciprocity by doing something for them first, do it, because they have the plan. And most people don't even know that they have the plan, but you can extract it. So hunger and modeling proven practices.
It's so good. Yeah, we always say, first you imitate, then you iterate, then you innovate.
Oh, I
not the
love
other
it.
way around.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that was the clincher. Is not the other way around.
Right, because everybody was like, well, we'll go ahead and try this thing. And it's like, why? Well, my gut says so. What's your gut based on? You know, do you have a history of proven success in this? Have you modeled proven practices? We're not curing cancer here, unfortunately. Like, we are doing things that other people have already done before. So I think it's so big. You know, and it kind of takes me to this random next idea from you, which is you have helped millions of people create a ton of wealth in their life. That mindset part I didn't used to understand. I used to think tactics, just because that's how my brain works. I'm like, just give me steps 1 through 7. And I didn't realize that most humans will fail miserably if you just give them the how-to instead of the why-to, which I learned from you guys. You've also partnered with some huge names to break through in a way that isn't normal for most people. Can you tell me about the time that you partnered with Matthew McConaughey on your big, huge event? What happened? And how did you talk one of like the world's biggest celebrities into sharing how he lives his life?
Yeah, great question. That was so much fun, by the way.
It
And
looked
such
so
a-
much fun. I was
he's-
texting you
he's
like,
such-
is he as cool
Yeah,
as he's?
no,
Don't
and
tell
you-
me if he's not.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't want to
and
know.
I remember texting you back like, he's actually cooler. Like, he's just the coolest dude. Like, I'll put it this way. His work ethic is off the charts. And I'll tell you, I'll answer the question, but his work ethic's off the chart. And I'll start from the beginning. The beginning is I listened to Green Lights. Did you listen to the book?
The book's incredible.
I got done
And I
with the
don't
book.
like celebrity memoirs.
No.
Do not care.
So a couple of things. Why I respected it, first off. He didn't come at it as like a memoir of a star.
Yeah.
What he said was, I've been journaling for 30 years. I found all the journals. And I geeked out for 6 months. And he went through all his old journals. He said some of it was painful. But he found the patterns that led to success and the patterns that led to failure. And I'm like, how could you not listen to every single word of 30 years of success and failure, right? So then he tells this amazing story in the book, and he's got the voice, like, he's just got, you know, like, it's just like, and I remember I get to the end of the book, I'm like, oh, I want more. Like, I want, did you feel that way at the end of the book?
100%, of course.
So I had a mutual friend, someone that knew Matthew and knew me. I'm like, can you do me a favor? I'm going to record a 7-minute voice memo. Can you just ask McConaughey to listen to it? And I left him a message, and fortunately, he had already watched my stuff. He loved Tony's stuff, so that gives you a little benefit. But I just said to him, I know this sounds completely crazy, but this book was so good when it was done. I wanted more, and I think the world needs more McConaughey. And this is what I said to him. I said, books are very inspirational, but courses can be very transformational because it's video. You give homework, you give assignments, you give challenges. Like, go do this right now. Stop playing this video. Go do the work. And I explained the difference of inspiration versus transformation. I said, I think you owe it to the world to create something next level that it actually turns it into not just an inspirational book, a program. And he got back. He goes, all right, let's do it. And the man went all in. Like, we talked about it, decided the deal. We said just to be partners on it. He brings Matthew McConaughey. I bring the experience. So Tony and I in our world. And I said, imagine the collision of your people and our people together, right? So what I love about the guy, he flew down, spent a week at my office. We stayed up till midnight every night, and he obsessed over every sentence, every word on, is this the way to transform? Is this the way to change people? And we called it road trip, the highway to more. So everything was like, how do you have more joy? How do you have more cool? How do you have more time, right? So everything was through this lens of more. But I got to tell you, it was fun. We're sitting around a table. And he can't help it, right? So he says, I said, oh, that story, you remember the story when he goes to Africa and fights the guy, and it's an amazing story.
Incredible.
So here's what's cool. This is what I get for an entire week, which is fun, is he can't help himself but to stand up and tell the story in Matthew McConaughey style. He goes, and then I'm sitting there like this, and I'm like, am I really going to fight this guy? And I look around at my team, because we're all captioners. I look at my team, they're all like, Like the girls are like, will you take your shirt off? Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just the coolest guy in the world. And anyway, so long story short, we do this and we have 2.5 million people show. So we did a live event, and at the live event, we offered his course. Not only did we have 2.5 million people watch on day one, he probably is the best-selling course in history in one day. Tens of thousands of courses sold that day. People fell in love with it. But I'm going to end it with this. Talk about the guy being cool. He gets off. We get done. He's like, I said, what'd you think of that? He goes, one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I said, why? He said, well, usually I read someone else's script. I'm directed by somebody else, and someone else edits it. He goes, I got to play me today. He goes, that's cool. He goes, you know what would be even cooler? Let's do a couple shots of tequila to celebrate. I'm like, you are the coolest man alive. I haven't done a shot of tequila in a decade. I'm back there. We have it on video. I did a couple shots with him. He's like, should we do 3 or does 3 make you fuzzy? I'm like, 3 makes me fuzzy. He goes, oh, 2's good. Anyway,
incredible.
That's, yeah. And
thank God he's cool, because it would be such a
what
bummer.
a disappointment it would be if he was like,
that would
yeah.
just, that's
No,
not okay.
hard worker, amazing husband. All he does. Camilla she was with him every single day to midnight. I mean, he came 7 days, and then when we did the launch, the actual event, she came for 4 days. She was there every night, a part of every experience, giving incredible feedback. He loves her to death. He's an incredible dad, so he's someone you keep forever.
I love that.
Someone you keep.
You know, it made me think about the opposite of that, which is, I think when you're trying to have big success, we all have people, friends, sometimes family, loved ones who say you can't, why would you do that? Who don't want you to go grow when you are about to have what you think might be a huge breakthrough. So what do you do to not let other people hold you back from the things you want in life?
So I give little reference points, like little things in my head that I can remember. And this one is, don't dim your glow. Without realizing, sometimes we have people in our life that think we're a dreamer, which most people do. Entrepreneurship is a lonely road. Being a dad of 4, there's nothing worse than going to a 5-year-old birthday party where you don't know one other parent. You don't know, and you got to have conversations with people that, this is going to sound horrible. Like, maybe this is rude to say, but it's a different path to be career-oriented than to be the crazy person that puts your life on the line, put your money on the line, put your family on the line. You risk everything. You go up and down, all the stuff that happens in the invisible. It's just a different philosophy, right? Oh my God. What was your question? I'm gonna
What
go back.
do you do to have other people not stop you from achieving your dreams? Those I think about it for instance, I remember when I was first starting out in my business, I had a family member that basically said, I was in finance at the time. I was working at, I think I was at Goldman, and my family member looked me right in the face and said, biggest mistake of your life will ever be trading the names Goldman Sachs for Codie Sanchez.
Oh, oh my gosh.
And they love me.
No, I get it.
So
the way I look at it, when I'm saying even being, is most people can't see what you see. Mm-hmm. So, Trent Shelton, right? Love Trent. And he said one day, he was on our stage. I invited him to speak during the McConaughey event, right? So he is just doing what Trent does best. And he said the exact thing. He said, no one saw my dreams. Well, he was an NFL player. Now he's going to be an influencer. And he said his first year, his mom would when he'd do a video, his mom would say, you're doing such a good job, baby. It would be the only comment, and people were reaching out. And he said he had this dream. And he said one day he realized, and whatever your beliefs are, he realized God gave him this prescription, like a pair of glasses. And he said, when I put my dreams on, my glasses, I see crystal clear the man I'm becoming. He said, but my wife and my sisters, my people in my life, if I give them my glasses, it's blurry. So how can I expect them to see the vision that I have? He said, God gave me this prescription, this dream, this goal on my heart. And when he said that, it's like, wow. Like, the only thing I could say is, it is the biggest question I've gotten in 40 years is, how do I get my wife on board? How do I get my husband on board? How do I get my family on board? They think I'm crazy. And what I'd say is, you can't let someone who's not achieving and hasn't done what you want to do give you advice. It's like your broke friend telling you how to get rich, your single friend telling you about relationships. And you got to remember, this is downloaded in your heart, your soul. And you got to find a way to just not dim your glow to match the people around you. Because I truly believe the biggest regret we could ever have is getting to the end of our lives and realize we missed it. I mean, life's going fast and we only got one shot at this. I don't want to get to the end and go, I played small because my husband didn't believe in entrepreneurship, or I played small because my parents thought college and this career was better. I think it'd be the biggest regret of your life. I think you would ask God or the universe or whatever you believe in, like, can I go back and do it again? So what I do to get my, like to push me, not only thinking don't dim your glow, I also think about, I have that opportunity now. Like if I got to the end of my life and said, can I go back and do it over? It's almost like wish granted. Like you're back there right now. Today's your day. Today's your day to go, I don't care what they think. I love them. I respect them. I'm not going to ask their permission anymore. I'm not going to ask their advice anymore because they're not qualified for advice. I'm going to find somebody who's already done what I want to do, and I'm going to use them as my inspiration. That's my new mentor. That's my new path. And just like the Theodore Roosevelt man in the arena, right? I don't want to be in the stands with someone else's name on the back of my jersey critiquing how they're playing. I want to be in the field where they say getting bloody, getting marred, and at least at the end, I'm going to paraphrase this terribly, but at the end of that, if you don't know it, go Google man in the arena. At the end, it says, at least I know that I went out in the field and I tried my hardest and I got back out when I got knocked down. But at best, being out in the game allowed me to live into who I'm meant to be.
It's so true.
Right? Like you want to be in the game. I want my name on the back of the jersey. I'd rather have my name and say, we lost the game, but you fought like hell, than being in the stands going, oh, he should have done that. You know?
It's so true. Yeah. My favorite line is about those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. And it's what it reminds me of is that it's not just about victory. He says just as equally, nor defeat. That other people who don't try, they also don't feel what that feels like because there's so much learning and
the
failure.
other side of defeat is when you win, it's just that much. It's that much. It's that much. So much more empowering because you know both sides rather than living kind of this flat life.
Yeah. The sweat and tears are worth it. That is for sure. One thing I was thinking about is we talk a lot about the difficulty, how hard this is, the hard work that happens. And I think that's really important for $1 million, like when you want to make your first $1 million. But is hard work really the only thing that matters?
No. I mean, and I know everybody listening probably knows that to be true because, I remember driving to my office. I live in Phoenix. That's where your parents live, right? Did you grow up in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah. So summers in Phoenix.
Yeah. Not fun.
Right? What's that?
Not fun.
Not fun. But I remember somebody asked me that question about hard work. When I drive to my office in summer when it's 113 and there's a bunch of guys on top of a flat roof putting tar down. And I remember the day I saw them. And I remember literally saying a prayer for them, right? Because I did that kind of work when I first started, right? But they're not working harder than me. I mean, I'm not working harder than them. Sorry. I'm not working harder than them. They're on a roof at 109 degrees. That tar is hotter than that. It's probably 150 to them. They're all wrapped up so they don't get sunburn. They're working hard, but they're not in the right boat, rowing in the right direction. And I wish all of them the best. And some of them are like my grandparents who were immigrants to this country, and they had to start that way. And look where I get to be 2 generations later. So they might be planning the foundation for their grandchildren to live into who they can be, right? So it's not just hard work. It's a combination of that hunger and hard work, but being in the right industry that's growing, not dying. It's about modeling proven practices. It's about not giving up. It's about stamina. It's about moving forward. It's about realizing that the prize is at the end of the journey, not at the beginning of the journey. All those little things are all part of it. So hard work alone isn't enough.
Yeah. I think that was a big lie that was told to me too, when I was young. And it's not a malicious lie, but it's a real one, which is, the harder you work, the more money you make. And I do think the harder you work, the more opportunities you get.
Of course.
And then
absolutely.
you get to seize those. But I'm wondering, so if we say now, it's not just hard work. How do you figure out what work matters? How do you figure out if you are doing the work that will make you more money or just being busy?
Yeah, it's so good. I think I used to draw this on a whiteboard and picture like a bullseye, right? There's an outer ring, and then the dot in the middle. And there are things that you do, that I do, that when we do them make us the most money in our company, right? If I had to ask you, what do you think moves the needle for you the most? Is it relationships and negotiating deals of buying a business?
Relationships, hiring.
Right. So let's just say, I'm just going to throw out a crazy number. When you are in that center circle, you make $10,000 an hour. Excuse the rough number. And then the outer rings, there's stuff that you still do, we all do, that someone would do for $20 an hour. True?
True.
Right? And you're just like in a hypnotic rhythm. You don't even realize you're still doing certain things. You're still searching emails and you're still staying up doing text messages. You're like, oh my gosh, AI could do this, or someone else could do it. I could automate this. I could delegate this, or I could just eliminate this, right? But each of us, if we can build our businesses and thinking through, there are certain things I do. When I do it, it's $1,000 an hour, $10,000 an hour, $100,000 an hour, whatever it is, because it's so unique. I would just say, polish that diamond. Get better at the thing that moves the needle the most. Try to recognize that. And that's where your energy, your effort should go. And then it's how do you get an ROI by letting people do the stuff in the outer rings? And it's an evolution. It doesn't happen overnight. The way I used to explain it is kick all the stuff you could get somebody $20, $30 an hour. Can you make $20, $30 an hour doing the thing you do? Everybody goes, yes, I absolutely can. Great. Then hire somebody to do that outer ring. I don't know if it's a personal assistant that stops you from going to Home Depot and stops you from dropping your dry cleaning off and stops you from grocery shopping and stops you from cleaning your house. Get somebody to do that, but replace that time immediately with the needle mover. And then as you get more and more in business, you get closer to the ring. There might be a time where something's $300 an hour, but you know you're making $3,000 an hour, so you still hire the COO, who's that much money because you get to do your thing. And I think that's just a different way to look at it. I got to tell you a quick story. Is my mom came to visit me, I don't know, probably 7-10 years ago. I live in Arizona. She lives on the East Coast. So she comes out, and this has been my philosophy forever. And the reason I work so hard is I retired my mom when I was young. My parents split. She didn't have money. She worked 3 jobs. If I look back at my first memory of wanting to be successful was to retire my mom. One of the sweetest women in the world. I like to think of her as a badass without a blueprint. Like, she's such a good woman. She just didn't know what to do with herself. So she cut hair, cleaned houses, painted houses, just manual labor to get. So long story short, she worked hard her whole life. And one of the reasons I worked hard is because of her. Anyway, long story short, she comes to my house and she's there for a couple of days. And she said, babe, I realized your garbage bins are filled. When do you drag them out to the street? What day comes? I'll bring them out for you. I'm like, I don't know, Mom. She goes, what do you mean? When do you take the garbage out? I said, I never have. She goes, you've lived here for 5 years. She goes, baby, don't tell me you pay someone to take your garbage out. I said, I don't just pay somebody to take my garbage out. I pay people to change my light bulbs, to go fill up my gas in my car. And I named all those things. She goes, oh my God, I think you got too big for your britches, honey. And I said, sit down, Mom. And you've never made more than $30,000 in your whole life. Let me tell you how it really works. When someone's getting gas in my car, changing a light bulb, mowing my yard, taking out my garbage, picking up my dry clean, I'm in there writing my book, or I'm writing a sales letter, or I'm building a new course, or I'm doing new training. And when I'm in that computer working, I might make $10,000 an hour. They mow my lawn for $60 in that hour. Which one should I do? And I remember my mom, she got it immediately. She goes, this is why I'm always broke. I always was broke. Like, she got it. I mean, no one ever just taught her that simple philosophy. So I tell her that as an example. What moves the needle in your life, and do more of it. And as you do more of it, get people to help you with the things on the outer rings. And through time, the greatest gift would be that you live in your core competency. And that's where real business is.
It's so true. I think people don't tell other people that because society makes us think that it sounds bad. They make us think that it sounds bad to say, I hire somebody else to fill my gas tank. I hire somebody else. They go, oh, are you too big for your britches? That must be nice.
No,
if
I have
you were
more
a rich
impact
person.
to make.
Exactly.
And the person,
but you have to
and the
know how to
person
fight
doing
back.
that. And the cool part is the person doing it appreciates the job that they get to do that.
You're being too rational. This is not how it works. in
Oh, yeah,
2025.
I'm sorry, no common sense here. Let me do the opposite of common sense.
That's not how this works on the internet. But it's a beautiful unlock because it's the truth. And what would you rather do? Do you want to feel right and virtuous, or do you want to win and actually make massive impact? And I think more people should want to make an impact and win than signal that they are somehow a good person through non-action. What does it take to make $100 million? Is it just more of the same?
No, I think I said it earlier, but every level has a new devil, right? And you and I have had conversations about this. The thing that got you out of like the thing that gets you out of Egypt doesn't take you to the promised land. So you can, as a rugged individualist, I heard that term, so I'm kind of just utilizing it, but like as that driver that has a core competency, good at finding businesses, good at making things happen, that takes you to a certain level. And then there's this phase where your business skyrocketed here. And I'm just going to share this with everybody. This is the part when it skyrockets, and right at that edge, whether it's 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, you think you're going to crack because you're doing all of it. I'm on the road. Like, let me use an example. I'm doing the podcast. I'm on the road. I'm the one on social media. I'm the one that's making the decision. I'm the one closing the deals. Oh my God, I don't even know if this is worth it. I'm about ready to crack. When you start hearing people say, I wish I had a twin. I wish I had the perfect operator. I wish I could hire the CEO that takes all this off my plate. That is the time that you need to obsess on leadership skills. That is the time where you have to learn how to bring in the right generals and how to get a team behind you and alongside of you where you collectively, there's, in my opinion, there's no way to go from 10, 20, 30 to 100 without a team where all of you are in the same boat, all rowing in the right direction and not you babysitting. I'll tell you the other thing I did wrong for years is I was really good at hiring young, amazing soldiers, like A players that I could see their potential and mentoring them and training them to be amazing and turning them into leaders. That worked at $5-10 million a year. It didn't work at the higher level because I'm already maxed out of my brain. I'm already like, I don't even know if I have time to go to the bathroom today, right? Like, what do you mean there's a dance recital today? Oh my God, right? Like, I remember all those moments, and you don't have the time to mentor for 3 years to make that general, right? I think I'm just using terms soldier versus general. So there's this time where you have to build such a strong culture and be so good at bring people in that you got to bring in generals who immediately adapt to your culture, and they're the wind behind your sails. They got your back. They talk amazing about you when you're not in the room. They understand you're a crazy ass entrepreneur that changes stuff and invents stuff. And for your kind of company, my kind of company, it doesn't mean it's all the same. There was a crazy ass entrepreneur who started it. You need operators and people on the team that know how to work with entrepreneurs, not the typical traditional company and CEO and CFO and these are the decisions and these are the, it's like, no, we're a little crazy, but the craziness got us here. So I think the 20 to 100 is understanding leadership, bringing in generals and getting everybody aligned. And, you know, culture you can go down a road of culture forever. It's really, you got to get people with the same values as you. And when you do and you align, it is magical to watch that next level.
Yeah, it's so wild. Early on, I think the problem is a lot of people listening, if they're new in their entrepreneurial journey, will be like, shut up leadership, shut up culture, shut up hiring.
Yeah, of course.
It sounds too far away.
Yep.
It's like, tell me how to make the money right now myself. But then what I found is like level 2, 3, 4 entrepreneurs, the only thing they want to talk about is leadership and hiring.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk tactics at all because at a certain point, it's not the tactics that'll get you there. It's like, tell me what your org chart looks like. How do you incentive align compensation plans? You know, what does an equity payment plan look like? And so if you can start getting interested in the boring things that you almost don't quite understand at
they're
an
coming.
early level.
Because they're coming.
Yeah, you'll
And
get
here's
there
the cool
farther.
part is think of it this way. Always, if you did it in an 80-20 split, 80% of your time should be focused on the company you are. And 20% should be on the company you're becoming.
You have a complete nobody living in the middle of nowhere, no education, no background, no connections, who does amazing financially because they have the right behaviors. They're calm, they're patient, they lack a big ego. They have a couple of behavioral traits, even if they know nothing about money, and that's all they need to do. And on the flip side of that, you can have the Harvard MBA hedge fund manager who blows himself up financially. Or even if they don't blow themselves up, they are actually living paycheck to paycheck. They have a lot of financial sophistication, but they have no control over their behaviors, their sense of greed and ego and patience and long-term thinking. I think you'd be surprised how many Wall Street pros fit that bill of like big brain intellectual, not a lot of the behavioral aspect that actually is needed to do well financially over time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw it all the time. When I was on Wall Street, that was the norm.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one of our sales managers when I was at a company off of Wall Street, actually, at this point, he said a line to me I'll never forget, which is with his sales guys. And so they're selling financial investments to like pensions, sovereign wealth funds, et cetera. And he said, hey, you know, when you go to hire your team, because I was a managing director, he was a managing director, he goes, you always want them to optimize for one thing. I'm like, okay, what? He's like, as many spots in the garage as possible. And I was like, why? That seems sort of irrelevant. He goes, because if you get them hooked on cars, you'll also get them hooked on employment for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And I saw it firsthand. It was like, you know, look at my Ferrari, my Lamborghini, my whatever. And then these guys were slaves to the paycheck and used to look at, you know, myself at the time, like a dual income, no kids. I think they called us dinks. And they were like, God, this is so great. You must like not have anything to spend on. I go, well, it's also because I don't give a fuck about like cars and huge houses and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But how do you trick yourself into that? Because I think society tricks us into believing I can spend so that other people will like me or so that I can show off to other people. Do you have a trick to like that you use every day where you go, no, I actually trick my brain into thinking that saving and spending wisely is better?
I think it's a healthy, selfish motivation with money to say like, I want my money to benefit and be a tool for happiness for myself and my immediate family. And that's about where the goals end. Because I think we always overestimate how much other people are paying attention to us. And so it's easy to tell ourselves, if I had this and that and this house and this car and these clothes, other people would give me a level of respect and admiration that they're not right now. And you always overestimate how much those people are actually thinking about you. There have been some incredible studies. One, I thought it was so ingenious how it was framed. These group of researchers put a woman in a very ugly sweater, like an objectively hideous sweater, and sent her into a party. And she mingled about and she came out. And they asked her, they said, how many people in the party do you think noticed your hideous sweater? And she's like, all of them. It was humiliating. And then they go in and ask people in the party, did you notice the woman in the ugly sweater? No. Nobody's thinking about you as much as you are. And that goes for your ugly stuff, for your insecurities, and what you might think other people will really admire you for. And so I desperately want the attention and the admiration from like 7 people in life. Right? Whose love and attention are actually a big part of my life. My family, a handful of very, very close friends. And you should not pretend that the other people walking down the street, driving past you, care whatsoever. It's not quite black and white. Like, I want to fit into the social group that I choose. And to do that, I need to talk a certain way, dress a certain way. It's not that it's not to just ignore everybody and do your own thing, but we overestimate the benefit that we get from it. And I first started thinking about this when I was about 19. I was a valet at a 5-star hotel in Los Angeles. And when somebody drove into the hotel in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, I would stop and stare in admiration, but I never thought about the driver. What I would do is I would look at the car and I would say, if I was the driver one day, people will admire me. But I didn't care about the actual driver. And one day I was like, do you see the irony here? Like, nobody cares about the driver, but they want to be the driver because then they think people will care about them. And it was just like and I think that was a big revelation for me of like, I see how this game is played now. We just overestimate the number of eyeballs that are on us. And once you come to terms with that game, you can be like, okay, well, how can I then use money rather than as a useless tool to show off for other people who aren't paying attention, but as a tool to selfishly, in a good way, improve the circumstances and the happiness and the independence of the life for myself and my family and a small group of friends around me.
I've never thought about the Ferrari that way, but you're absolutely right.
Nobody cares about the driver.
No, in fact, I negative affect the driver. I go, that guy's probably, or he's doesn't have a lot of cash, and so he wants to show it off this way, or he's like scamming people, so he's got to project that he's XYZ. That's what I think when I see it on the internet. I go,
and it's not just cars, but even clothes. By and large, if someone looks at you and says, wow, really great jacket, by and large, what happens is they're not actually admiring you. They're thinking, if I had that jacket, people admire me.
You know what's interesting though? I think there's one area where I've realized there's pushback differential, and I've even seen it in myself, which is physical fitness.
Yeah.
So like if you're fit, or if you're physically good looking or well styled, but you're right, it's not I have a hot Gucci jacket or something. It's like if I am a type of person that is able to style myself and I am attractive, that actually has real reciprocal effects and probably is worth spending money on, which to me is bizarre because I never cared about any of that before.
Yeah.
But a lot of science seems to show that.
But I think it's attractive to people who either want to be part of your social group or you want them to be part of your social group. But that's a minority of people. And I feel like a lot of spending is this big, broad, trying to get the attention of people who don't necessarily care about you. And to your point, what do my wife and kids and close friends hopefully admire about me? It's not the square footage of my house or the horsepower of my car. It's like, am I a good dad? Do I play football in the driveway with my son? Do I sit and play with toys with my daughter? Am I responsive and receptive to my friends and go out and have dinner and laugh for a couple hours? That's what they care about. And I wrote about this in the book. I have a very good friend. I've known him for 20 years, one of my favorite people in the world. I love spending time with him. And of our social group, he earns the least amount of money by far. And it bothers him. And he talks about how much it bothers him. And I told him one day, I was like, if you are a good friend, a good listener, a funny joke teller, and you're hardworking and taking care of your family, you've earned like 90% of the points that I'm capable of giving you as a friend. And if you also happen to be rich and successful, maybe it would go up to like 9.2. But don't pretend like I like people because they make money. Some people will, like, I only want to be friends with rich people. And those are the fakest, shallowest, shortest living friendships that will exist.
That's such a good point. What do you think about, now you've sold millions of copies of your first book, and I'm sure you will of this one as well. You've, talked to some of the richest people in the world. You've talked to some of the most successful people in the world. What have you found is the number one lie or untruth we are told about money?
I don't know if it's told so much as just expected, but there is a very clear expectation that if you wake up in the morning and you feel a little bit empty or diminished or anxious or in pain, that you can tell yourself, if only I had more money, those problems would go away. And I think to some extent, it can be true. Money can give you a comfortable life and solve a lot of your problems. But what you see with a lot of rich people is that once they gain the money, they still had a lot of problems in their life. And that can be such a jarring feeling because you told yourself, if only my net worth is X dollars, then I'll be good. And you get there and you're like, wait a minute, my friendships still aren't that great. My health is still not great. My marriage is still not that great. I still don't sleep at night, that well at night. I still have all these anxieties. And so then you kind of lose your sense of hope or you double down. And so a lot of people are like, once my net worth is $1 million, I'll be great. And then you get there and you're like, well, I feel the same. So maybe it's 2 million. And you get there and you're like, I feel the same. Maybe it's 10 million. And you're just constantly chasing the high that you think you're going to get from it. Money can solve a lot of problems in your life, but this is another area that we just overestimate what it can do for you.
What is the research that you've done showed is the amount of money for which we do derive a lot of happiness? Like how much, for somebody listening, how much you're like, you know what? You really don't feel bad for going up until this amount of money.
I think it's so different for person to person and geography to geography.
Yeah.
But certainly at the lower levels, the more money you earn, the more that you can like massively increase your happiness. If your income goes from $10,000 a year to $20,000 a year, you change your life completely. And going from 50 to 100 can change your life. Yeah. Probably going from 100 to 200 can change your life. Different for everybody based off of their ambitions. But I think for a lot of people, once you own a house that has enough bedrooms for you and your kids, and you like the neighborhood that you live in, and you have good neighbors that you enjoy, and your car isn't breaking down, and you're eating healthy food, and you're doing like checking some pretty basic boxes. You have adequate health care, those things like that. And most areas in life, you might be able to get that for different region to region, but 200, 250, whatever it might be. Then after that, it's not that the money can't make you happier, but it diminishes quite quickly from there. And at the extreme levels, is there any difference in lifestyle between Elon Musk, who's worth, I think, $600 billion, and Jeff Bezos, who's worth $200 billion? Of course not. $400 billion difference. There's no difference in lifestyle whatsoever. For most of people, there would be no difference in lifestyle between 100 million and 100 billion. You know, you have too many houses, you have planes, you have everything you could want. It just diminishes quickly from there. A more important point, though, is I think for a lot of people, there is a net worth at which not only do you stop getting happier, but your life gets more complicated and you start dealing with like big existential questions of who am I and what do I do with this? And it becomes a social liability. There's a level at which your friends and your family are going to start asking you for money. You have such higher expectations of like, how do I raise kids without spoiling them and whatnot? There's all those questions. And that level of net worth is probably lower than people think.
I remember when I didn't have much money at all, I would listen to something like this and be like, yeah, I'm going to try it. I was like, fucking
there's
great.
A lot of
I don't know.
in,
I'm going to try it. Like,
yes.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And like when I get there, if I'm still unhappy, fine.
So be it. Right.
But I think the other thing to push back on here, and I feel this strongly, is like, you have to, like, what does Munger always say? Incentives, always incentives. And, you know, the incentive in the world today is to make you consume more, spend more, keep up with other people. Like that is just how our economic
in a competitive world. Yeah.
In our society works. And so you have to like push back slightly on that and go, at what point is this all just mimetic desire where I'm chasing somebody else's dreams, somebody else's hope, and I'm stuck in a rat race that I didn't even want to enter in the first place? And, you know, I think you have a lot of reasons why we do that. And I love some of the quotes you have, like spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less. And so, you know, even for the person that's listening out there, you know, it's not like, oh, don't worry, stay poor, we don't care.
No.
It's really psychologically, if you don't rewire your brain, you actually never will get wealthy.
Yeah.
And then simultaneously, you will have a counterproductive result, right?
I think people should have a lot of ambition to have more money for independence. I think that should be the ultimate goal. It's not that money won't do anything for you and you should stop chasing it and enjoy being poor. It's not that in the slightest. You should want more, and I want more for that reason. I just want to be completely independent. And everybody is talented in their own way, can be happy in their own way if they have independence. And it's actually very difficult to express that talent and to express who you are if you are completely beholden to somebody else's goals, metrics, incentives, which most people are. And so that's where I think the ambition should be. It's not ambition necessarily for a greater material life or greater social status. It's ambition for independence.
So how do you tell if you're spending to show other people you're cool versus you're spending to get independence?
This is like an imperfect way to think about it, but I think a lot about this in my own life, which is just asking, if I was on a deserted island and nobody could see how I lived, nobody could see a single possession that I have, would I still want this thing? And a lot of people in that mental exercise would say, in that world, I wouldn't change anything. I'd have the same cars and the same house and the same clothes, and they're great. And I think a lot of people would answer that. But I think we would see.
Do you think a lot of people would say that?
I think for the most
part. Why do you need, like, doesn't the average American have like 20 pairs of shoes? That wouldn't make sense.
Well, I think so. There is a lot of spending in the world that is purely social status.
Yeah.
It's just purely that. And so in that mental exercise, you understand the difference between utility and status, between like, what am I doing just to impress other people and what is actually making my life better? And you can spend a lot of money to make your life better. It's not to say like on that desert island, I would have an awesome house. I would have very comfortable clothes, and I wouldn't want to feel like a slob. I would want to feel good about myself. So maybe it wouldn't be that much different. And but you start thinking about things differently. If nobody was watching, how would I live? Because the truth is, almost nobody is watching. Like that's the truth for most people. So in that situation, you go to you just brought up Charlie Munger. And I just read this article about him about a month ago that was describing his last week of life, or his last year of life, I should say. And I might be getting a few of these details slightly wrong, but he built an incredible house in Santa Barbara overlooking the ocean, amazing house that a multi-billionaire would own. And then he had his house in Pasadena that he had lived in for like 60 years. And by every account, it was not just a middle-class house. It was like, dare I say it, a dump. But he had lived there for 60 years. And in his last couple months of life, that's where he wanted to be. That's where he wanted to be. Not in the palace overlooking the ocean, the house that felt like home to him, that had the memories that he had, that was probably, I assume, surrounded by neighbors who he enjoyed and friends nearby and whatnot. And I think that model explains a lot of things in life of like, what you want out of this material possession is not just the price or the square footage or like the things that you can measure like that. So much of it is just like, well, do you actually enjoy it? It's the intangible things of what you enjoy them for.
You know, it's so interesting because you have a quote that I really liked, which is somebody saying, quotes, renting is throwing your money away is the kind of thing said by a guy who has never had to replace the roof on a house he owns.
I wrote that tweet in anger after replacing the roof on our house.
I felt that from you. I'm curious, do you think it's better to own or rent a house?
I can tell you my experience. My wife and I rented for a decade or more, and it was the greatest thing in the world. We lived in like 5 different cities, and we could just pick up and go. And that flexibility at that phase of our life was unbelievable. And I was very pro renting. I don't believe houses are great investments, financial investments. That's always my view. About a week after our first child was born, I felt this overwhelming sense that like I want to buy my own house and I want to do it right now. Mm-hmm. The idea of like I don't want to be a transient renter. I want a firm, solid home base for my family. That feeling was so strong. So we went out and bought, and it's been great. The important thing though is like you should buy when you can afford it and when you think you're going to settle down. And the idea of like people doing these calculations of like, oh, well, actually, if I bought, I would save $100 a month versus if I rent. This is not a spreadsheet endeavor. Like you should do it when you can afford it. But so much of it is just the value and stability that you want for you and your family. I think we did a lot of harm in society when we taught people that rising home prices are a good thing. That did a lot of damage to people. It's a terrible thing. And B, that in the decision of whether you should buy or rent is a spreadsheet decision versus just the quality of life and the kind of life that you want for you and your family. Like those two, I think, things inadvertently did a lot of damage to society.
I think you're right. I mean, because when you look at the math, it's actually quite hard to argue that home ownership is better than renting.
If it's just looking for math.
If all you're looking for is the financial outcome.
I would not be surprised. In fact, I think it's almost certain that I've been a homeowner for 10 years, that if I had rented the whole time, my net worth would be higher. I think that's probably right.
Well, of course.
And not a single cell in my body, if I had a time machine,
would go back and
would do it differently.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm like, I'm not doing this to maximize my net worth. I'm doing it so I have a stable place for my children. That's it. Yeah. And we can live in the school district that we want to. And I think the sense of ownership that comes with owning your house is a really good, fulfilling thing. If you're in the phase of your life where you're ready for that.
I want to talk about something else that I think maybe is a detriment to society and that people have categorized wrong. At least I think, but I'd be curious your take. Let's talk about passive income. Is it real? Can you get it? Is this reasonable for people to want?
I think it rarely, if ever, exists, because what people think of passive income is I don't have to work to get this. And anyone who's been like a landlord like realizes like that can be a full-time job for doing it, or owning small businesses. The idea like, oh, you just buy them and collect the checks tends not to be the case. You understand this better than anybody. If you're investing in the stock market, the psychological price you can pay for the uncertainty and the volatility, or investing in somebody else's private equity fund, and the psychological price tag that you pay of like dealing with that person, trusting that person, lack of trust with that person, the returns aren't coming in like you thought, you don't know when the returns are going to come in. That's a cost. And it's a different cost than driving to work and working 9 to 5 in a cubicle. Yeah. It's a different cost, but let's not pretend that it's not a cost, that you just give money to people and then the money just starts flowing back and you don't have to do anything for it. It's easy to underestimate the price tag of those things.
Yeah, that's very true. Even if you're just talking about the K1s and the tax complications.
I mean, most of it in public stocks, it's the volatility and the uncertainty.
Yeah.
And once or twice a decade, that will be harrowing. It'll be, you will not be able to sleep as the stock market's falling 50%. And you don't know if this is a run-of-the-mill correction or the second Great Depression. And you'll deal with that twice a decade.
How do you protect your mind and your psychology for those horrible financial life events like that?
I save a lot of money. Am I saving for a new house? No. Am I saving for retirement? Like, not necessarily. I'm saving for a world in which things are going to happen in the broader world and in my life personally that I can't foresee, that I am not thinking about today, and will have a major impact on my life. And so that's the psychology of it. I think a lot of financial advisors might look at my net worth allocation and say, like, what are you preparing for? Like, it's not that conservative, but probably more cash than people would generally recommend. And I think a lot of it is just being an amateur student of history. Like, all history is a constant chain of surprises that nobody saw coming, that fundamentally shape the world, usually in bad ways. And the people who do okay over time are the people who have a conservative enough financial arrangement and mental flexibility to endure those episodes.
What are the habits of rich people versus poor people you found in all your research?
Well, there's obviously a lot of survivorship bias in rich people. So you can look at someone who's very wealthy and be like, well, look what they did. They started this business and they took a huge risk and they didn't do this. And like, here's their morning routine and all that. And for every one of those things, there are 1,000 other people who did something very similarly and failed. And also I think there's a Paul Graham quote where he says half of the attributes of very successful people are actually liabilities to them. And so we can look at an entrepreneur and be like, oh, like he wakes up at 3 a.m. and runs 20 miles. Like, yeah, but that's not why he's successful. That's just, he's a crazy person in general. And he has all these other crazy attributes. Like, there's no cause and effect in that. And so, but I think if you wanted to create a common denominator of it, it's a combination of obsession and long-term thinking. It's a combination of like, these people don't obviously work 9 to 5s. They wake up thinking about their business. They go to bed thinking about their business. When they're playing baseball with their kids, they're thinking about work. It's the only thing that they can think about. And they don't want to do it for 2 years and sell their business. They want to do it for 50 years. They want to do it for 70 years. All wealth comes from compounding. And when most people think about compounding, they're like, well, how can I earn the highest returns? What is appealing is how can I earn the highest returns for the shortest period of time? And where most wealth actually comes from is like, how can I earn merely good returns for a very long period of time? That's where it tends to come from. So if you find someone who's very good at their job or very wealthy, the common denominator of those people tends to be they've been doing the same thing for 30 years or whatever it might be. And if anyone does the same thing every day for 30 years, of course you're going to get good at it.
So true. Like, you have another quote I love, which is that everything that ends up working in finance stems from patience and self-control. Everything that doesn't work stems from instant gratification and FOMO.
I've done a lot of work with like young students, high school students, and two things stick out. One is, I think, relative to previous generations, they're smarter because they have more information than we did. They're just constantly drinking from a fire hose of information. So they know things about the world that we didn't when we were 17. And the other thing is, every single group among these very intelligent kids, everybody will ask me some version of the question, what penny stock should I buy to double my money this week? And I have to remind myself that, like, these kids aren't dumb. They're very smart. But the knee-jerk reaction, what seems like common sense to everybody, is how can I get rich the fastest? It's just what's the fastest way to get there? And that's the cause of every financial failure, is usually like trying to take something that naturally should take 10 or 20 or 30 years and being like, well, great, but I don't have the patience for that. How can I compress it as fast as I possibly can? And I think that's what it comes from. And the idea of being patient is not intelligence. It's not education. That's purely just behavioral. There's some people who have no education that can be the most patient people in the world, and people who are extremely intelligent, who have the attention span of a fly. They can't keep it going. And I think it tends to be in finance that sometimes the smartest people are the most impatient. And because they want to use their intelligence and their IQ to be like, well, how can I speed this process up and get it as fast as I can? And that's the source of every blow up.
That's fascinating. It does feel like, I mean, I go back to like the Buffett quote of, why do you tell people all of your secrets? And he's like, because nobody else wants to get rich slowly.
They're not going to do it. Right. Yeah.
Which is so true. It's like, Morgan, why would you write a book on how to make a bunch of money and keep it? Because probably most people who read it aren't even going to do anything. I
think about my parents. They have no financial education. Moderate financial knowledge that was like self-taught, just like very modest interest in it. And so they are not the persona of like financial sophistication, but they did one thing, which is they dollar cost average into index funds, and they haven't sold anything for 40 years, ever. And if you compared their returns to professional fund managers, they're literally not, it's beyond top 1%. It's probably top 0.1% at this point that they've outperformed for doing nothing and for knowing nothing. Because all they had was all that you actually needed, was just like a profound sense of patience and leaving it alone.
Do you think that most people should just put money into a diversified investment portfolio, leave it there,
Most
dollar cost average,
people,
and that's it?
I'm not a passive investing zealot, the person who's like, nobody can beat the market, don't even try. Of course, some people can beat the market. People have beat the market and they'll continue doing that. And some people have done that profoundly well. But it's like asking, should most people try to get in the NBA? Like, no. Like, some people can do it. Like, let's not pretend that I can do it or that anyone else. Like, of course it's hard. So whenever people bring up the statistics of like 99% of mutual funds will underperform their benchmark, they use that as a indication of like, see, the industry's a scam. My response has always been like, no, of course that's how it works. What world do you expect to live in and where everybody who tries to beat the market and make a fortune can do it? Like, of course that's never going to exist. Just like everybody who wants to join the NBA is not going to be able to. And I don't know what the statistics are of like what percentage of high school basketball players make the NBA. I don't know. It's probably 0.00001, like whatever it is. And people are like, yeah, that's how it should work. And it's the exact same in investing. So your question is like, should most people dollar cost average an index? Yes. Does that mean it's impossible to beat the market? No.
And also humans, we are like you talked about optimism bias, but we are such funny little creatures in that we will try to go beat the market. I mean, I talk to a lot of young people today too, and that's always what they want to know is, how do I buy a business for $0 in 30 days that makes me millions, that's an absentee owner that I don't need to work at.
Right.
And like the second you figure that out, fill me in.
Let me know.
I'll be right there with you.
I think a lot of it is because the barriers to entry of investing in the stock market are zero. And you can, any 17-year-old can open up a Robinhood account and transfer $20 into it and start trading the same stocks that Citadel is trading at the same time. And there's not a lot of other things in life that are like that. If you said to a 17-year-old, like, hey, do you think you can go build the Golden Gate Bridge? Like, no, of course, it's just impossible. But you can open up a Robinhood account and start pretending that you're the next George Soros, right? So because the barriers to entry are so low, it gives everyone the shot of like, maybe this is my ticket. Let me convince myself that I can do it.
It's so true. And you get this. I mean, I remember back in the day, I had a chance to invest in Robinhood when it was like super, super early on. And I'm an idiot and I didn't. But the reason why I didn't, I actually kind of stand by, which is that I really don't think you should gamify stock market investing.
Agree.
And so I remember when I saw the pitch in the background, I just thought, I don't think this is going to be good for society.
I think most people who work at Robinhood and work at Kalshi and Polymarket are good people who want to do the right things. This is not a complete moral indictment on them.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think we'll look back at those kind of tools as having helped a generation of people. I think, if you compare Robinhood to Vanguard is an index fund company, super low cost, long term. That I think you could look back at something and say like that did a lot of good for people. But something that gamifies it is really important. There's a great interview with Jon Stewart when he was on The Daily Show, where he interviewed Jim Cramer. And this was in 2008, kind of the teeth of the financial crisis when the market imploded. And Jim Cramer went on the show, and Jon Stewart's bringing up example after example of in a mockery fashion of like what CNBC was. And Jon Stewart had a quote that I loved. He was like, I know you want to be entertaining, but this is not a game. This is people's retirement. This is people's life savings. This is not the casino. This is not entertainment. It should not be entertainment. It's a very serious thing. And you can see how like if we gamified health, people would be like, no. It's like, this is not a game. Like, you don't want to do that, especially if the risk of losing is cancer or something like that. People are like, that's not a game. Don't do it. But we do that with money. And we do it to the most vulnerable segment of the population, which are young kids, particularly young boys whose prefrontal cortex won't fully develop for another 10 years as they're day trading these things.
Never thought about it that way, but you're exactly right. My first job was at Vanguard out of college. And what I remember is like going to the cafeteria in Pennsylvania, I'm totally blank, Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, where the headquarters is, and walking into the cafeteria. And that was when Bogle was still alive, the founder. And he would just sit at the cafeteria table every day. And you could go up to him. He was an old gent, and he would get his little, things. And he was like the opposite of what you think about as a flashy billionaire these days. He kind of famously, I think, like Buffett drove a Buick. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was some old car.
Yeah.
But what I really respected out of him is that he kind of believed, he drank his own Kool-Aid. He like really believed what he was doing there. And they actually, I remember at the time they had this like, they actually had an intellectual patent on their shareholder structure, where this is like slightly technical, but like it's kind of interesting, where they're one of the only like mutual holding companies in the finance space, And I know one of the guys that was the one who came up with this model. And so it basically mandated, just like an insurance company, that you'd put all the earnings back into the funds to lower the costs.
People don't understand this. Most people don't understand this about Vanguard. Vanguard is effectively a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And the reason Bogle didn't look like a flashy billionaire is because he wasn't. He did this incredible thing when he started it. He took an entrepreneurial risk and an entrepreneurial effort and built effectively a nonprofit that he was never going to get rich off of. And Vanguard pays dividends, so to speak, in the forms of lower fees to average, ordinary people saving for retirement. Yeah. And so like you look at that, like that's a public benefit. Yeah. That's something that you look back, you're like, that benefited society. The ability for 17-year-olds to wager their life savings on a football game is not.